You have fire in your gut? Okay, we're here for a reason to win games. So if you didn't have that fire in your gut, you better light the fire pretty fast.
And welcome back to the latest and greatest episode of the Shaving Points podcast. My name is Jayden May, joined as always by my co-host, Quentin Crisco. How are we doing tonight, Quentin?
Doing good. We finally got our first full weekend of football. Man, it was great. It was glorious. The Chicago Bears are undefeated.
Fantastic.
I'm a happy man.
Cowboys are undefeated. Bears 1-0. Are you going to apologize for being 1-0?
Hell no. Never
apologize for being 1-0. Yeah, that was quite the weekend. That Bears game took years off my life.
Not me. I'm experienced. I've seen this. I knew exactly how this game was going to go. I was in a group chat telling him, like, at halftime everyone's freaking out, and I'm like, I just bet Bears money line. I know how this goes. I've seen Will Levis play football. I know what this defense is. Caleb Williams might not even have to score. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So I wasn't worried about the Bears winning. I had -4. And that was a terrible number to have at halftime because I'm like, I just don't know how they win by 4. And then luckily the early field goal ended up actually coming in clutch for me when I thought that was a guaranteed loser. But yeah, it was a battle to cover 4. But God gives his toughest battles to the strongest soldiers, I guess.
That's the way it works.
Isn't that what they say?
We survive.
Yeah.
We're
Cowboys.
on week 2.
Cowboys absolutely rout them. All right. Well, before we get started, do you want to go over records before we start talking about this week's games?
Yeah, sure. So for NFL, I'm sitting at 5-3. Excuse me, my dog is deciding to make some noise. But 5-3 for me, 1.5 units up. Jay starts off 3-6, down 3 units, but not for long.
Not for long, hopefully. NFL killed me this weekend, but big weekend in college football. Hoping to repeat that as well. So stick around for some college bets at the end. We'll probably try to go through this a little bit quicker this week now that we've kind of seen what we're working with on after week 1 and the slate we're looking at for week 2. So why don't we just go ahead and get into it with the Thursday night game. We have the Dolphins hosting the Buffalo Bills, spread of -2.5 for the Dolphins.
Oh,
and
so
total of 48.5.
This morning it was Dolphins -1.5, so that's moved a whole point over the course of the day.
Okay. We have a total of 48.5 in this game as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about this game, and I was looking at it, and I was like, the Dolphins shut out Jacksonville in the second half last week. And, Jacksonville doesn't have any, great receivers or anything, but neither do the Bills. And that just seems to me like I'm just going to stay away from this total, where usually I'd like Miami in an over situation against a division rival who they're, going to be fighting for the division with down to their last breath this year. But not this time. I think that defense is going to be pretty good at stifling an inexperienced Bills wide receiver group. And I'm just not sure what the Bills are yet.
Yeah. So, I think the Bills played in a pretty physical game last week. They had to come from behind and win. They were down 17-3. Came back from 14 points to win the game. You have a Dolphins team that also came back from 14 points, but kind of did it in different ways. I felt like the Bills were in a slugfest, and then the Dolphins, it just felt like they couldn't get rolling early on, but as soon as they got rolling, they were fine. They got Devon A-Chain playing slot, so, there's just speed everywhere on the field.
He's questionable now.
It's not surprising. He'll be questionable all year. I like the Dolphins in this game. I'm taking them at -2.5. And, I look at the Bills coming off of the game they played, having to go all the way from Buffalo down to Miami on a short week where Miami was just home against Jacksonville, got to stay home. So they basically get a whole extra day compared to Buffalo in this scenario on a short week. So I like that advantage for the Dolphins. I think Mike McDaniel's a hell of a coach. I think they'll have them have everything right going on for them there in Miami. I like Dolphins -2.5.
Now, I think part of the reason I didn't get to that I just didn't think through quite yet while I was first talking about this game. I'm not sure what Miami's pass rush really looks like. They're still missing some key guys. And I just feel like if Josh Allen has time back there, he's gonna do some crazy stuff, which is another reason why I'm staying away. If I wasn't to bet anything, though, it would be Dolphins -2.5. Like, I think them at home in September in that crazy heat down there, crazy humidity, crazy. I mean, I guess you don't get as much of that in a night game here, but it's still a factor somewhat, but you don't get the same
It's gonna be
sun.
hot.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the way their sidelines are set up where the sun is always on
Yeah.
the visitor side, like that's probably not as much of a factor. But if I were betting anything, I'd be with you, Dolphins -1.5.
Yeah, see, my only thing is if they can't get a pass rush on Josh Allen, it's like if this thing goes to a shootout, give me Dolphins in a shootout with just about anybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So you want to move? What do you want to do next? Cleveland, Jacksonville?
Chargers, Panthers, and we've got them all in the text tab here. But
Okay, I'll pull them up, see what order we got. So Chargers, Panthers. Panthers look like the worst team in the league yet again. I don't have them on mine, but anyway, Chargers look good. J.K. Dobbins looks fantastic. I thought the two running back system wasn't going to last too long. Harbaugh historically kind of leans on one guy more than the other. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be his guy there in Baltimore, and he looked fantastic at the second half of that game against the Raiders. They were fighting the Raiders in the end zone. They are fully bought in on Jim Harbaugh, it seems. I think this Chargers team is going to be nasty, and Panthers, they look so bad. And Bryce Young looks even worse than I thought I didn't think it was possible for Bryce Young to look as bad as he looked week one. So I'm not betting this game, but if I did, I would take Chargers -6.5. But there's a lot that I still don't like about this Chargers team. Is this game in Carolina? So LA going across the country, don't love that. I usually don't really like betting against home dogs either, especially coming off a performance like they had. Like, you're never as bad as your worst performance, just like you're never as good as your best performance. But they looked like dog shit. But it's still too early in the season for me to take the Chargers laying almost a touchdown across the country.
Not me. And you make a lot of valid points that just made me like shiver a little bit of like, oh man, am I really betting that? But here I am. The money's already been put on the table. I'm a little more skeptical after hearing you talk about it. But ultimately, I look at the Panthers. I see a team who just lost their best defensive player for the year.
Yeah, I do like that. Or I don't like that. He's one of my favorite players. I like that for the Chargers.
The loss of Derek Brown is so big for the Panthers. It really impacts that defensive line, that linebacker core too, significantly. Like, I think whoever you think is going to touch the ball for the Chargers running backs, if it's Dobbins, I think he's going to have a field day. Like, I just don't know how they're going to stop the run without Derek Brown out there. Yeah, maybe a Justin Fields day.
Rushing for 247.
And
maybe throwing for 62, just like Justin Fields as well.
Maybe. I just don't know why I would believe in this Panthers team in this spot. The cross-country travel is the part that got me the most nervous as you were saying it, because that is tough. That is tough on any team to do that.
I mean, they get paid to play football too.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I see a Saints team who I was not very high on coming into this year that just utterly destroyed this team.
Destroyed them.
I look at the Panthers and I see Dave Canales, a guy who's, talking about creating sustainable lifestyle for his coaches. And I can't help but wonder That's great. I want them to have sustainable lives.
Yeah.
But I can't help but wonder if when everyone else is out working you, that's got to play a factor in this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate the pick. I mean, like I said, for me, it's just too early in this season. There's still too many unknowns for me on the Chargers team. But they look good week 1. So
Truly, one that I wish this
maybe I'm
total
gonna
was
be
a little higher.
I'm gonna be too late on this Chargers team. I already know it. I'm gonna start betting on them week 3 and 4, and the lines are gonna be adjusted. And I'm gonna get my ass handed to me, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I wish this total was somewhere around like 41, 42, because then I'd take the under. But like at 38, I feel like it's a little too close to like anything can happen territory.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, just give me Chargers -6.5.
Don't hate it. Don't hate it at all. All right. All right. Next up, we have the Saints at Cowboys. Speaking of the Saints, probably the most overrated performance of week 1. I feel like they're getting so much love, and rightfully so. I mean, they went out there and handled business, but I just talked about how bad the Carolina Panthers looked. Historically speaking, over the last 3 years, Cowboys have been one of, if not the best home team in the NFL during the regular season. They looked absolutely fantastic week 1. They were buzzing around on defense. That looking incredible. So much speed everywhere. Eric Kendricks looks young, fresh legs. DeMarvion Overshown looked unreal out there. I think he was graded the second highest off the ball linebacker for week 1. Just all around impressive effort from everybody. Starting a rookie at corner, Kalen Carson, which was kind of surprising, but he played well, dropped a pick early on. Deshaun Watson is really, really bad. So we'll see. We'll see what that Browns team looks like moving forward. But defensive line looked great, but the Browns were also missing their 2 starting tackles. So you don't really know, but I'll trust this veteran Cowboys team at home week 2, coming off a big win against the Browns. I expect them to take care of business here. I expect them to cover 6.5, even losing Jake Ferguson. Brandon Cooks has looked better coming on. So, and Zeke looked fresh early in the game, then looked old at the end of the game. But if we're getting a fresh Zeke early on and letting Rico kind of take over mid-game or whatever it is, I don't really know what the situation is going to be there, or if we just saw fresh Zeke for literally a quarter and a half and he's look old for the rest of the season. I don't know. But I'm taking Cowboys -6.5. I think the Saints are getting way overvalued here. Cowboys should be 7.5, 8-point favorites, in my opinion, pretty easily here. So at 6.5, I think that's an absolute gift. So I'm hammering Cowboys -6.5 here.
Yeah, I mean, I made this game actually I made it like 6.5, so I hit the nail on the head, but I don't care. I like Cowboys 6.5 here. I'm betting it. I think that this truly, when I saw this number was under, which means I was probably wrong in what I made it. So when I saw this number under 7, I was like, automatic bet, like easy as that, just because I look at this New Orleans team. Their D line really does not scare me. The Cowboys O line looked pretty good against Cleveland.
Tyler Guyton only allowed 1 pressure from Myles Garrett, and I think they were matched up 17 times. Interior looked pretty shaky at the beginning. Connor Beebe starting at center over Brock Hoffman. Big surprise to everybody, but he looked better as the game went on. Zach Martin gave up an early pressure, which you don't normally see. But as the game went on, that offensive line got a hell of a lot better. They were holding the pocket, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're going to be able to open run lanes against the Saints defense as well. And then the Saints O-line, sure, they look good against Carolina. Like, Carolina's pass rush, especially after Derrick Brown went down, you're talking Jadeveon Clowney as a guy who really only produced in Baltimore in a scheme that was very favorable to him, in a defense that had a lot of other talent around him. And then you're talking about a bunch of guys that you don't have any dudes on that D line anymore. I really
there's no Micah Parsons.
Right. I don't think that Saints O line was really put to the test last week.
DeMarcus Lawrence looked really good too.
Where that really comes in is you have like you said, the Cowboys pass rush can get after it. Derek Carr has never really been very good under pressure. Last week, he was able to play really clean. He looked really good doing it. Derek Carr, historically, clean pocket, he's fine. When he's under pressure, when the bullets are flying there in the pocket, that's when he struggles. And I expect the Cowboys to be able to generate that pressure. Mike Zimmer had this defense playing great last week. I expect that to continue. Give me Cowboys -6.5.
Love it, love it, love it. Moving on to the next game on our slate, which will be...
Hey, they're all in the private chat. Sorry.
I got you here. Okay, Buccaneers at Lions. Buccaneers looked damn good week one. I know, playing against a very bad Washington team. Jaden Daniels looked all right. He was able to escape the pocket against them and do a couple of fun things. But overall, just absolutely shellacking by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just a better football team in general. But Baker looked incredible. He was putting the ball exactly where he wanted to, getting Mike Evans the ball anytime he wanted. Just really impressive performance there. I think Tampa Bay is getting a little undervalued here. I mean, I just talked about the Saints getting overvalued. I would have thought this was going to be 4.5, 5, honestly. I love this Lions team. Historically, we've talked about on the podcast now for 4 years, 3 years, however long we've been doing this, about how much we love this Lions team, the way the Lions team has been built up. But I think Tampa's getting a little disrespected here. I like them a lot here. I'm taking Tampa Bay +7. They're just solid everywhere. And Bucky Irving, I think, had 67 yards on 5 carries. I think he's going to definitely get some more work here. That Detroit Lions defense did look incredible early on in the game against the Rams. But as the game went on, they started giving up a little bit more. And Tampa Bay, in my opinion, has similar weapons, and the fact that they can wear them down later in the game. And I think they can keep it close, maybe even pull out a win. But yeah, you're giving me a full touchdown with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Baker Mayfield and Rashad White and Bucky Irving and all those guys they have there, and they play pretty good defense in Tampa as well. I'll take the 7 points. Give me Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on Tampa Bay +7 here. I made this line 3.5 before I looked at what the spreads were. I thought this should be no higher than 4. This Tampa Bay team took the Lions to the limit in the playoffs last year. Very similar teams. Lions did get better on defense, but I think Tampa is going to be right there with them. That talent that they have offensively at the weapons, that's hard to contain, especially against 2 rookie cornerbacks out there for Detroit. That's not going to be something that they can just, say is handled. The rookie corners need to learn the NFL game still. Mike Evans is really good at teaching rookie corners how to play football. He's done it over, and he dunks on rookies every single year. And like you said, this defense, the Tampa defense, they're no scrubs. Todd Bowles runs a scheme. I'm not sure that this historically adds up. I'm not sure how Jared Goff has historically done against Todd Bowles' defenses. I couldn't spit that number out off the top of my head. But I do feel like his defensive style is the type that would rattle Jared Goff a little. And that is, that can go a long way, especially if you're in a shootout.
No, I feel that. So you're taking Tampa Bay in that game?
Yep, Tampa Bay +7.
Perfect. Now we'll move on to Colts at Packers. Anthony Richardson with some absolutely ridiculous throws week one. Some of the most impressive throws I've ever seen. And he had a 50-yard touchdown and a 65-yard touchdown and threw for about 150 yards in total for the game. Kind of a boomer bust guy, but the Packers, they looked all right for most of the game. It's hard to judge what the Packers were with that field that they played in Brazil. So what I do know is, assuming we have a Malik Willis start here in Green Bay with Sean Clifford backing him up, I have zero faith in Green Bay whatsoever. Even if they get a couple of defensive touchdowns and everything else, I just don't see them containing this Colts offense enough to be able to really stop them at all. I'm taking Colts -3 going into Lambeau.
Is it 3 now?
Yes.
Why is that line moving the other way? It was 3.5 earlier today. I was expecting it to move up
Packers
to
are
4 or
good.
5 as Jordan Love was announced. Like, it says that they're
Packers,
preparing to start Malik Willis.
yeah, but 3.5. You get that hook. You have Indy going in there. You have a better coach in Green Bay. Defense is there.
Like Shane,
Josh
I mean, I
Jacobs is
love
there.
Matt LaFleur, and he's probably better than Shane Steichen. But is the difference between Matt LaFleur and Shane Steichen that wide?
I
Where
think
you're saying
I
the
think
quarterback
Anthony
difference is
I think Anthony Richardson being so volatile kind of helps the line as well. Because I mean, you don't know what you're going to get out of Anthony Richardson. And I think that if the Packers go out there, they can control the clock, maybe turn them over a couple times, keep this thing ugly, keep it close. I mean, you just never know.
I just don't understand what sharp money is coming in on Green Bay +3.5 or +3 here even. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. I'm taking Colts -3. Like I said, as soon as I saw it, even with Malik Willis, I thought it felt kind of ratty. But
Malik Willis has thrown 67 career passes, 35 of which have been completed for 5.2 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 12 first downs. And he's taken 15 sacks on top of that.
maybe
He has
that's all you
sacked
need.
18% of his dropbacks.
I think at one time in the Browns game, Deshaun Watson was sacked more times than he had completions. So,
I mean, if you can't tell by now, I'm on Colts -3.5. I love it even more at -3. I just don't see a way that a Malik Willis light offense covers this number against a solid Colts team.
he's a Louisville legend.
Louisville legend. Didn't he go to
He's
Liberty?
basic. Was he? Who was the other guy from Louisville after Lamar?
Malik Cunningham?
Maybe that sounds right. Yeah, he was Liberty, wasn't he? And everybody, yeah, he was under the
Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze, the worst human on earth. Yeah.
Every time I
was
hear the name
Willis.
Hugh Freeze, all I think of is the Batman bad guy that was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, like Mr. Freeze. That's
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze to me. And when I
Yeah.
see that Hugh Freeze is the coach,
That
I
guy-
expect to see Arnold Schwarzenegger in that ice suit on the sideline.
Mr. Freeze is a better human than Hugh Freeze. So,
But Colts -3.5 for me. I think that's an easy play. I mean, who knows?
like
The
it.
ghosts of Lambeau might make me look stupid, but
I'm on it with you. I called it a rat originally in the pre-show, and then I was like, I can't be the guy who didn't take this because it seems way too easy. Moving on, we'll go to Browns at Jaguars. Jaguars are -3.5 points here, hosting the Browns with a total of 41.5. I don't know the Browns situation at O-line.
Did they lose guys in the game?
They didn't have either one of their tackles to start the game.
Okay, they still
I
had
don't
DeJuan
know
Jones.
why.
I know I saw DeJuan Jones playing.
Yeah, I don't know the reason for it, but I know their left tackle for sure was out. But that's about all I know. And I know the Browns looked absolutely terrible. Deshaun Watson looks so bad. There was a couple of times where Amari Cooper got the best of our DBs, like he does with a lot of people, and Deshaun couldn't even get it near him. He looked so bad. He looked disinterested. He looked like he didn't want to be there by the end of the game, which I wouldn't either if I was.
Yeah, he wanted to be on his burner account on Twitter.
Yeah, if I was getting sacked every 2 plays, I would probably feel the same way. This feels kind of ratty to me. Jaguars, I thought looked fine, other than stalling on offense in the back half of that Miami game. But Miami's a lot better team than the Browns. 3.5. I'm not taking it. It seems too easy. But week 2 is like the hardest week to bet in the NFL, I feel like.
This Browns team expects to be a playoff team. They got embarrassed. I think they bounce back. Like I'm not saying I think they cover here. I'm staying away from this game. But I think this defense is so talented that they might find that they're going to find ways to keep this game as close as possible. I mean, I'm not sure who wins this game. I can see it going either way. I think both teams have some clear weaknesses and some strengths. Like as I'm thinking through the Jaguars, I feel like the Jaguars roster is just so average across the board that I always have a hard time making strong statements about them, aside from Trevor Lawrence and Josh Hines Allen. And with the Browns, I almost feel the opposite. I feel like their roster is so stacked outside of the quarterback spot that it's just like I don't know how it all meshes together, so I stay away. Yeah.
Is that going to be the worst contract in NFL history?
Gotta be. It's gotta be.
It's not
Couldn't
even
happen
close.
to a better guy.
And I mean, we didn't really talk about it earlier, but what the Browns thinking right now? Like, they finally got a pick somewhat right with Baker Mayfield at the quarterback position. He struggles for about a year, but he's fighting through injuries at the same time, and they let him walk away for nothing. And what was his contract that he recently signed? Like 4 years, 115.
Yeah,
but it was only like $45 million guaranteed or something like that.
Yeah,
and they're sitting there in Cleveland paying a serial offender $230 million guaranteed.
This is hard time.
Can't even complete a pass.
So, who would you rather be, Cleveland in that situation, or Carolina, who gave up, I think it was a second and a fourth for Sam Darnold, then gave a fourth for Baker Mayfield, only to cut him to see where he is now, and then give up all they did for Bryce Young, including Caleb Williams and
I don't care. I'd rather be Carolina, because right now everything is in front of you for Carolina. If Bryce Young's bad this year, you have Carson Beck coming out, you have Shadur Sanders coming out, you might have a Miller Moss coming out, you have a Quinn Ewers coming out. I mean, just run it back. Just go get another quarterback. It don't cost nothing. I'm all for what Carolina has done to try to find a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Failing, that's fine. But going out and paying a guy that hadn't played football.
They succeeded once. They just didn't keep him.
Cam Newton?
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, yeah. They got him for free.
Yeah, they gave like a 5th round pick for him and then cut him within a month. Yeah.
I thought he
or maybe they did get him for free. I thought they gave something for him, but I could be mistaken.
But yeah, I forgot that was a crazy time. And then he goes to LA on a 1-day notice and starts and wins for the Rams. Yeah. Oh man, that was a wild year for Baker. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for going out and trying to find a young cat, doing whatever you can. But the Deshaun Watson, the trade, the contract, none of it ever made sense to me. After, like, if they would have got him immediately coming off the year that he had versus where he had the double-digit lead against the Chiefs and blew it, I would have been fine doing it immediately right then. But doing it 20 months later after coming off a torn ACL, not playing in a year, with all the pending litigation charges against him on top of that, and what you had to give up to get him, and the contract, it was just, it's
hard times.
Hard times. Couldn't happen to a better franchise.
Or a better quarterback.
I like a lot of the people, a lot of the Browns guys on the team, but Deshaun Watson's not it. But hey, maybe Jameis is good.
We've been saying it for like 5 years. Maybe Jameis is good. We just don't know.
Well, yeah, like I really thought he was going to get his opportunity in New Orleans.
You know what's hysterical?
He never did.
So I was running a bunch of numbers on like former number 1 pick quarterbacks and their like early starts and stuff. And Jameis Winston's first career start might as well have been his most recent career start because it looks the exact same. Nothing has ever changed.
But it's crazy how, like, now that we know more about Jameis as a human than we did when he was in college, like, he made some questionable decisions in college, but they were all like, yeah, put yourself in an 18-year-old shoes, winning the Heisman. Like, just kind of doing some dumb stuff, but like now being in the NFL for like 11 years, like I don't think anybody that's met Jameis post-college has ever said a bad thing about him. Just stand-up guy, like number 1 team guys, like we'll have everybody's back, like just the guy you want to be around, the guy you want in the locker room. And you have that in the same room as Deshaun Watson, who basically quit on his team week 1, like without quitting. Like he didn't pull a like Shadur and walk off the field, but like he, if you watch that third and fourth quarter, I mean he had quit.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I do think there have been a few things with Jameis since he got in the league. I don't recall the exact specifics of them, but I think there have been some things that were kind of odd and then fell in some gray area or some charges here being potentially filed. I'm not sure
early
exactly
on in Tampa.
what.
Yeah, early on in Tampa, yeah, he did have that Uber driver situation.
Yeah, I think there was some stuff there in Tampa. I don't think it was as innocent as like he got out of college and it was just like we're in the clear now. Like
I guess it's been more so the past like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, showing some maturity and growth.
But sure. Enough about the Browns. Let's move on.
Yeah. Moving on. 49ers at the Vikings. Vikings look pretty confident week 1. Also playing probably the worst team in the league. If it's not the Panthers, it's the Giants. So don't really know what to take away from this game. Sam Darnold looked all right. 49ers looked fantastic. 49ers 5.5-point favorites at the Vikings. Feels ratty to me. I'm not betting it because why are they only 5.5-point favorites to the Vikings?
I don't know. I cannot tell you why. I mean, I made this game 10 in my numbers. Yeah. So, like, I was comfortable going all the way up to 10 on Niners, which maybe that's foolish in Minnesota after they just showed some really nice signs of life.
What if Daniel Jones is actually good and the Vikings are just that good?
Maybe. So this isn't even a bet against Sam Darnold. This is a bet against the Vikings defense. I just do not think they have the personnel to stand up to the 49ers in any way whatsoever. Like, Brian Flores can really make a bad quarterback with poor weapons panic like crazy because his scheme is just pure chaos.
What about a bad quarterback with good weapons?
And great coach, great scheme? Yeah, I'm not too worried.
Great coach, great scheme. All pro left tackle.
If Brian Flores had the horses, sure. He doesn't, though. That defense is lacking for talent on every level, and I just think this 49ers team is going to chew him up and spit him out.
I was about to try to bring up an obscure player on the Vikings defense, and I can't think of a single one. Harrison Smith, is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there. He'll never go.
What about Harrison Smith?
Yeah, Harrison Smith. That's the guy. I mean, Josh Metellus is nice. He's fun. Like, Cameron Bynum has done some nice stuff. I'm not sure. I thought I saw that he might be injured. I'm not sure. I could be mistaken on that.
The holy casual.
Byron Murphy Jr. is okay. But
how did he look? No, it was the Giants.
No, I'm talking Byron Murphy, the corner.
Oh.
Not Byron Murphy,
Where did Byron Murphy go?
The defensive tackle.
Seahawk. Okay.
I'm talking about the cornerback who was drafted by Arizona years ago.
Yeah, who could forget?
Yeah, like, I mean, so they have some nice players. Harrison Phillips rocks. I love Harrison Phillips, but he's not a difference-making, like, pass rusher. He's a really nice run stuffer, but there's just so much that I feel like is lacking on this defense that The offense,
So
Justin Jay Jettis, Jordan Addison, that O-line, it's all strong. But with Sam Darnold at quarterback against the head coach who he had last year, who had him in the lab last year, and the head coach who knows how Sam Darnold ticks, what makes him tick, what makes him go off.
The blood of Dick Hammer.
Yeah, the blood of Dick Hammer, I'm not believing in him this week. Give me the 49ers minus 5.5.
I might end up riding that with you as of right now. It just feels too ratty for me. Moving on, we have the most stay away from game I've ever seen in my life. We have the Seahawks at Patriots. Patriots are 3.5-point underdogs. Seahawks coming off of a hard-fought win against the Denver Broncos where they gave up 2 safeties, but ended up taking care of business pretty easily. Bo Nix absolutely fucking sucks.
Which, if you listened to the podcast last week, we told you he sucks. Yes. We told you this. And the Seahawks barely covered last week, but they still covered.
Patriots didn't really look good, but they beat a really good Bengals team that both of us were high on. So
before we realized T. Higgins was out, and I don't think we fully thought through the fact that Jamar Chase was only going to be a partial participant in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out when your best wide receiver sits out all through camp and then your other wide receiver doesn't even play and you're coming off of injury, you're probably not going to look all that great week 1. That was
not going to have a good time.
A little bit of oversight by us. So, I'll glance at this game here and there. I don't really care about it. I mean, Seahawks got their win week 1. Patriots got their win week 1. I think both could lose this game. I think both could win this game. And it doesn't really matter by the end of the season. I think the Seahawks are going to be an 8 to 10 win team. I think the Patriots will be lucky to win 6. And I think this game doesn't matter for either one of them in that regard. So I'm staying away from it. I would take the Seahawks minus 3.5 if I had to bet it, just because I think the Patriots just won their Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I mean the Patriots, they remind me a little bit of the Bears a few years ago when they beat the 49ers week 1 and then lost 10 straight after that.
Yeah.
And really, they're more talented than that team was. But I just don't know if there's anything I can say is going to sustain success with this offense. This defense might be good. We said it all offseason. This defense looks like they're going to be good, but they're not. I don't know. When your offense is this much of a question, it just gets – you end up in this gray area of I don't know how many games they can actually win. I think they can get some unders. I think they're going to be a cover machine at times this year. Maybe not through the whole season, but I think there's going to be a stretch of the year where it's they cover. But I'm not going to want to bet it because I have no faith in their offense and what they're going to put out from a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I'm just staying away from it. Moving on, we have Jets at Titans. Titans plus 4.5 to the Jets, total of 41.5. I thought the Jets looked fine week 1. A little rusty. I mean, that happens when you have a quarterback coming off an injury that he missed the entire previous year. But I think Aaron Rodgers still has the arm talent that he had in Green Bay. He made some throws that were really, really nice. It's a terrible draw week 1, having to play a 49ers team. Will Levis is terrible.
Yeah. No, Will Levis is truly awful. This Titans defense is good. Tavondre Sweat, if Tavondre Sweat continues to play the way he did week 1, he's going to be talked about as one of the best defensive tackles in the league. That guy was unreal. I had a 3rd round grade on this kid. I didn't like his tape. I didn't think his foot speed and his hand speed was anything consistent. You could see the flashes here and there, but it was not an every down basis. This past Sunday, it was an every down basis. That guy was a giant problem. Him next to Jeffrey Simmons might be the best defensive tackle combo if he continues to do this, which is a big question for a rookie. You do it 1 week, awesome. Can you do it multiple weeks throughout the year? Whole different thing. But I think with that combo, the Titans are going to be in any game throughout this year, but I'm not sure how many they're going to win because I just have very little faith in Will Levis, and he showed up to prove that lack of faith in week 1 by basically handing the Bears 14 points.
Yeah, and so I've kind of said it a couple of times. Week 2 is so hard to bet. 4.5 is a weird line. I think the Jets can go out there and win this game, but that Titans defense looked good. If Titans are able to run the ball against that defense like the 49ers were able to, I think Pollard and their other guy, Spears. They look serviceable against that Bears defense.
Yeah,
Pollard had some flash plays, so I think they can go out there and run the ball pretty well. And I don't think Levis will play that bad again. But they got some DBs there in New York that will absolutely eat your lunch if you go out there and play the way you did the week before. So I lean Jets here, but I'm not taking it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Lean to the Jets, but there's plenty of worlds where I see the Titans covering this number, so I'm just staying away.
I could see the Titans winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
Just muck it up, make it nasty and gross.
In the trenches, I mean, the left side of their O-line and those defensive tackles, that is a tough combo to beat. Like, it really is. It's a lot of minutes.
Moving on, we got the Las Vegas Raiders going to Baltimore. Baltimore's 9.5-point favorites with a total of 41.5. Lamar did not practice on Monday because he was so beat up. Why is this a Ravens thing or is this a Lamar thing? I don't get it. But Lamar played the type of game that he needs to play in the playoffs, week 1, to where when we've seen Lamar historically in the playoffs, he's a lot more reserved. Like, I'm not going to say scared to run, but almost like he'll get rid of a ball when he could run for 8 or 9 yards. I mean, he was running every time he saw an open window. And it's like that's the kind of football you need to play in the playoffs. That's when you need to put the team on your back when you're in the playoffs. You just went out and signed Derrick Henry. Like, why are we not just giving Derrick Henry the ball 30 times if we want to run the ball? They're running plays that, like, it's a one option route and the second option is Lamar running. And if the route's not there, he's taking off. Why are we not doing that in the playoffs with him? I mean, he's an absolute weapon.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it week 1 in a meaningless game.
I don't know, honestly.
And then we're missing practice the next week because of it?
I can't explain it. All I can really sit here and say is that Todd Monken was brought in there and considered to be, this really great play caller, offensive coordinator. And I think he's solid and he's good enough. But also, you go back and watch the offensive tape from his time at Georgia. It's the most gimmicky shit you've ever seen because they're just like, we're so much more talented than everybody. We don't need to do that much, right?
Yeah.
We have Stetson Bennett at quarterback, and we're just going to do what Stetson Bennett's good at because we're talented enough that we can just do that. Like, so
yeah.
I was always kind of skeptical on the Todd Monken aspect and, what his offense actually is because the time at Georgia, it's a bunch of tunnel screens and runs up the middle. Like that's what we're talking about.
I will say from a fantasy aspect, going back and watching a little bit of this game, if you're a Mark Andrews owner, I wouldn't be as worried as I was after that game having Mark Andrews in half my leagues. The Chiefs took Mark Andrews out of that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised by how often they were in 12 personnel running Likely and Andrews out there. That was surprising to me. But as far as Mark Andrews production and going out and selling Mark Andrews for cheap, I think that's a bad idea because the Chiefs took Andrews out of that game. They said, we'll let Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely beat us.
Rashad Bateman almost joined that group too.
Yeah.
Big catch. But when looking at this
But
game,
I want to take the Raiders here. I'm not betting this game. I think the Raiders are. I think they got bullied, and they're fired up. And Gardner's one of those guys that no matter what he looks like the week before, he can always come out the next week and ball. It's a big spread. I think Antonio Pierce will have this Raiders team up and ready to go, but it's so hard. The Ravens are just so
another
talented.
cross country
and so
travel, too.
Yeah. It's hard for me not. Usually, if it's a double digit spread, we're 9.5. You got to win by 10 to cover. Double digit spread. I don't like betting those types of spreads when you look at a team that has a top 5 defensive player and maybe top 5 receiver in the league with some good young talent around both of them on both sides of the ball. Against it, hardly anybody. So that's the only thing keeping me from betting Raiders here. But yeah, I lean Raiders all day. I wouldn't take the Ravens in this spot.
When I first saw this, I bet Raiders and then I cashed it out and deleted it off my sheet about an hour later as I was like saying they're stewing on it, because my first thought was like, this Raiders D line is nasty. Ravens O line has been, it was a rough week 1 for them. And ultimately, I think this Raiders defense can limit this Ravens offense in some ways. But then the reason I cashed it out and said, no, never mind, I'm not doing this, is really just the Raiders scored 10 points against the Chargers. Chargers have some defensive talent, but I like the Ravens' defensive talent a lot more than the Chargers.
A lot more.
They only scored 10 points in was that at home or was that in LA? Either way, it's
no,
right.
It was in. Oh, I can't remember.
Either way, it was right there. Like, it's not like their travel was nothing. This time they're traveling across the country.
It was in LA because I remember talking about it last week.
Okay. And I mean, what did Antonio Pierce do to get the Harbaugh brothers back-to-back to start the year?
I don't know, but that's tough.
That's tough, man. And I mean, truly, John Harbaugh isn't the greatest at covering as a home favorite. Like, there's a real chance here that the Raiders might cover this, but their offense, until they show me something worth actually believing in, 10 points, you're not going to cover this with 10 points.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's a hard spot, and I don't trust it. Moving. I don't even want to talk about this game.
Sicko game of the week.
Sicko game of the week. We have Giants going to the Washington Redskins. Redskins are 2.5-point favorites at 43.5-point total. Daniel Jones looked awful. The Giants looked awful. The Commanders looked awful. Jaden Daniels did not look awful.
You know what's funny? The Commanders said after the game, we don't want Jaden to run that much. And they really say that? Because they drafted a guy who, in 5 years of college, every time he was under any pressure, he ran. So you drafted that guy number 2 overall, and you don't want him to run? Like, what? That's what he does. That's what he's here to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's
I'm
got
not
a
saying
good
he
arm.
should. I'm not saying it was a good idea to take him to, but like you did. Yeah. That's what he does.
Yeah, and Malik Neighbors showed some flashes for the Giants too. So maybe if Daniel Jones can calm down a little bit, distribute that ball to some of these guys. I mean, I think both of these teams were in such a bad spot week 1 to where they got behind early and they just never had a chance. Like, it just piled on. But I wouldn't trust betting your money on this game. Like, if somebody gave me $1,000 and they're like, you can have this $1,000 only if you pick a side here, and then you can keep the money. I wouldn't know what to do. Maybe the over.
I'm going Giants.
I'd probably lean Giants too, but it's tough. I mean, I like the Giants defense. I think they're going to cause some problems for the Commanders. But I also thought the Giants defense would cause more problems for Sam Darnold, and he looked incredible week one.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot better O-line in Minnesota than in Washington. I will say that. Like, if I don't want anything to do with this game, but if I was betting something, it would be Giants to cover the number because that D-line is going to be a freaking problem for Washington.
Also, for all the people that told me all summer that they like Austin Eckler in this offense, I mean, if it wasn't for like his 30-yard reception, he had 5 catches for 43 yards and 3 attempts for 12 yards, and Brian Robinson just went off. And I told everybody that asked me, I was like, yeah, if you're getting a part of that backfield, get Brian Robinson. Like, do not touch Austin Eckler. Yeah. I don't like to overreact to week 1 fantasy, but I wouldn't expect that to change after week 1.
No, I agree. I want nothing to do with Eckler coming into it, and I still don't. I wouldn't give him to me. I might say no. Like I don't see the upside there.
I don't know if I'd pick him up off waivers if he was
now. I wonder, because thinking about this game, Jaden Daniels, his average depth of target was in the dumps. Like everything was at the line of scrimmage basically, and relied on yards after catch.
Twice.
Yeah, and so I wonder, like, I just feel like a good defense coordinator. I don't know if the Giants D coordinator is good or not, but a good defense coordinator is going to look at that and say, "Oh, we're going to have some fun this week." Like,
you would think.
Yeah, I think so. I don't trust either one of these on Jaden Daniels' first game. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, me neither, brother. But yeah, I mean, I'm not touching that game. I'll move on to Rams versus Cardinals. Cardinals look good week 1. Went out and got the cover for the boys. We're not sleeping on the Cardinals. Probably could have had a money line there. Had some mistakes down the stretch. Where was Maserati Marv? I don't know. Hopefully we'll see him soon. I have a lot invested in Maserati Marv. Get Maserati Marv the ball somehow. But Kyler looked good. He was slinging it all over the field. Buffalo ended up. I think Buffalo's the better team. I don't think there was any doubt about that going into the game. But we said Cardinals would keep it close. They started out 14-point lead, ended up losing, but
they covered.
They look solid. Now they're hosting the Rams. Rams historically always beat the Cardinals, but new regime in town there, and they're in Arizona. We got a fully healthy Kyler Murray. He's got some weapons. He's got an improved offensive line. That defense is playing with a sense of urgency. We got some injuries for the Rams. You have Cardinals as the 1.5, 2-point favorites, depending on where you're at, with a total of 49.5. I'm not taking this game. If I would, I'd probably lean Cardinals. I love their weapons. And that offensive line really worries me in LA. So that would be my lean, but I'm not taking this game.
I'm taking Cardinals. I like the coaching staff in Arizona. I think they're going to bounce back from a rough cross-country loss here and say that they're going to have their minds right. They're going to have their scheme right. I think that they are going to be able to match Sean McVay to some extent. It's very hard for anyone to actually match him, but when he's missing Puka Nacua, multiple offensive linemen, now starting a 6th-round rookie at center, who I liked a lot in this draft, but he's still a 6th-round rookie. I think that there are areas for them to schematically really attack for Arizona defensively. And I think that they're going to be able to do some stuff against a Rams defense that I was pretty low on coming into this season. I mean, you're relying on a lot of rookies on that defense this year, a lot of changing parts, and Aaron Donald's not there anymore. Give me Arizona minus 1.5. They were one of the best teams against the spread at home last year. Let me see that keep rolling. It's changing the tides right now. Cardinals are going to beat the Rams this week. I feel it.
Yeah, can we start a petition to get Maserati Marv the ball?
Hey, you want a prop? Marvin Harrison Jr. anytime touchdown. I think this coach staff is going to get him the ball.
Bucket. Moving on to the next one, we have Steelers Broncos. Broncos +3 hosting the Steelers with a total of 36.5. Another gross game here. It looks like we're going to have Justin Fields starting for his second game for the Steelers. Bo Nix looks absolutely terrible. Steelers defense looked really good week 1. I'm not touching it. Are you like anything about this game?
I want nothing to do with it. We're
Luckily,
talking about
Justin
a
Fields is
Steelers
starting.
offense that got into field goal territory 5 times and never scored a touchdown against that Atlanta team that has talent, but like it's a bunch of new pieces
We had
too.
3 teams kick 5 field goals this weekend.
Yeah, like I just don't trust Justin Fields as a passer. You can go pull up his passing chart. It looks the same as it did in Chicago. It's all at the line of scrimmage or down, or either like at the line of scrimmage towards the boundaries or deep towards the boundaries with very little in between and nothing in the middle of the field. It's the same. Nothing has changed about Justin Fields. It's just they're leaning into what he is more. And you can score some points, run a little offense with that, sure. But I think there's a cap on it. And this Broncos defense actually impressed me last week. I thought Seattle was going to be able to do a lot more against them than they did. 2 safeties. Like
almost 3.
This Denver defense can play. I don't think they're on par with the Steelers. If I'm taking anything here, I'm leaning the Steelers, or might lean the over just because I think there's some defensive scores in there with Bo Picks at quarterback, with Justin Fields'
Some more
tendency
safeties.
to take sacks and fumble and all that. We know that can't be far behind, so maybe the over might be a good play here, but I'm staying away.
I might just bet a safety in that game.
There you go.
I want to see Broncos 2 weeks into the season and half their points are safeties. All right, game of the week. Next up here, we have Bengals at Chiefs.
In Burrowhead?
In Burrowhead. Nut up or shut up time for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is 5-1 versus Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, with his 1 loss coming in the playoffs to Patrick Mahomes, undefeated against Josh Allen, and beat Mahomes 2 other times.
Do we get an asterisk for the DeMar Hamlin game?
Prayers for DeMar.
Is that just an asterisk? Didn't happen? Like,
I don't know. That was a coin flip. Who won that coin flip? Wasn't it a coin flip?
I don't even remember.
Because there was a weird tie scenario.
I thought they just took the game off. That they said
no, but there was a tiebreaker scenario for seeding that they flipped a coin for.
Oh, I don't remember who won it.
Because if the Bills would have won, they would have been like the 2 seed. If the Bengals would have won, they would have been like the 1 seed. But somehow the Chiefs just got gifted the 1 seed, and then it made, I think, the Bengals and Bills tie. And so it was like they were both getting a home game, but one of them was playing whoever and the other one was playing who. It came down to some sort of coin flip to where it basically gave the win to the Bengals, I guess, but they didn't actually get the win. It was just strictly for playoff seeding. Something like that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites at home, welcoming in the Bengals. Bengals didn't look good week 1. I feel like this is the biggest overreaction all of week 1. Chiefs team looked really freaking good. That's the best they've looked early on since rookie year Mahomes, probably. And they still struggled with some drops. I think they had 3 drops on the game that they could have blown that game open versus the Ravens. Ended up being a close game, came down to the last play of the game. Isaiah Likely's toe was out of bounds, but they were going to go for 2 if they had got that. Maybe we're talking about an 0-1 Chiefs team right now if Isaiah Likely didn't wear size 14 shoes. Who knows? But I feel like this is a huge overreaction. I really like this Bengals team. I'm not betting it. I lean Bengals plus 5.5. But I gotta see Jamar Chase out there. I gotta see T. Higgins out there. I gotta see what this team looks like. I'm not betting it. I might take the over 48.5 if I'm going anywhere, but I got killed on totals week 1, so I'm trying not to take any totals either. But yeah, 5.5. I feel like this should be 3.5 to 3. So I would have to lean Bengals, but like I said, I'm not touching it.
Bengals burned me last week. Burned me once. Shame on me. I need to see their offense come back before I'm willing to be burned again. And I mean,
Yeah.
it very well might happen this week. You get T. Higgins and Jamar Chase out there. Jamar Chase is a full participant in the offense. Then maybe we're talking. But I need to see it happen before I can believe in it. And I mean, if they're at full force, sure, I like Bengals plus 5.5. But I have no reason to believe they're at full force till I see it. So I'm staying away.
Yeah, and I still like the Bengals for this season. I mean, everybody else in their division lost, so it's not a huge.
I love their schedule.
Steelers didn't lose, but I'm not worried about the Steelers in that division. So, yeah, I think they're fine. But yeah, moving on. Sunday Night Football. We have your Chicago Bears, who I single-handedly willed to victory to cover last week.
You did. I saw it.
Going to Houston, taking on the Texans. Texans 6.5-point favorite. CJ Stroud looks like CJ Stroud. I love year 2 quarterbacks for MVP. I love CJ Stroud. And I just didn't even think to bet him for MVP before the season started, and I feel like such an idiot. Like, I don't know how I memory hold that. I mean, CJ Stroud was my favorite quarterback in college 3 years ago, a year before he came out. I was on the CJ Stroud train going in. I thought for sure, I was like, if he falls to 2, the Bears should take him. Or, no, it was before. Well, who was it? Case
the Bears
Keenum?
were number 1.
Was it Case Keenum? Was it Case Keenum that won that game for Houston?
Oh, no, it's Davis Mills, Chicago Bears.
Davis
Mills.
Yeah, Chicago. Yeah, because it was like the Bears were looking like they were going to get the 2 spot, and it was like, oh, Justin Fields. And I'm like, if the Bears don't take CJ Stroud, if he's there, they're fucking crazy. And then they end up getting the haul that they got. And I was like, well, you can't pass that up when you have a guy like Fields. But anyway, huge Stroud guy. Huge Stroud guy. I love betting on year 2 quarterbacks to win MVP. And I just didn't do it. And I just had to get that off my chest that I feel like an idiot for that. He looks really good week 1. I would take the Texans in this spot here. I think Caleb played his worst game that he'll ever play as a pro last week. I don't think we'll ever see a Caleb Williams that bad again. But I think the Texans are just a better team than the Bears. I have the Texans as my 1 seed in the AFC. I have the Bears as my 2 seed in the NFC. I think this could be potential to be a great game. 6.5 is a lot of points, but I'll take the experience of the Texans with red hot CJ Stroud coming off a red hot rookie season over a second start of Caleb Williams. That I'm not officially worried about Caleb, but he seemed nervous to say the least. And like I said, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll figure it out. I think that was the worst game we'll see as a pro. But my worried meter for Caleb went from like negative to maybe like 0.01%.
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of worry that came in with that game, no doubt. And before I get into the game, I'll address Caleb Williams. So to me, I'm looking at that game and I'm watching the tape back and I'm saying, okay, what's one thing that Caleb just is going to really struggle with? It's interior pressure, instant interior pressure. You can say that about a lot of quarterbacks. It's really hard to escape interior pressure. If it's coming from the edges, Caleb he is incredible with managing the pocket. But when there is no pocket, that becomes really hard to do. Tavondre Sweat looked incredible. Jeffrey Simmons looked really good. Those two were just constantly destroying the pocket, which just threw off the timing of everything. On top of Tennessee's cornerbacks are really good. Tennessee's cornerbacks had the Bears receivers jammed up pretty well. They weren't separating as well as you would have hoped. And that's going to impact it too. Some of the timing stuff was off. Really, when you go back and look at the tape and try to actually grade it for Caleb, it doesn't come out as bad as the stats would look, but he also just didn't make plays, which is
Caleb,
what you're hoping he can be. He can be that guy who can just say, when everything else is going wrong, you can raise all boats and make plays. And we didn't see that.
One thing, like, Caleb has the ability to run the football. He ran the football pretty well when he had to. And there were some instances where, I mean, you can get that defense, or you can get that pass rush to ease up a little bit if you burn them for about 10 or 15 yards running the football a couple of times. And as much as I love the fact that he was getting the ball out quick and not taking sacks, like, you're not doing anything for your confidence or throwing the ball or whatever. So if you have an opening and the pocket's collapsing and nobody's open, go get the 5 yards, go get the 7 yards. He did a good job protecting himself when he ran. He was sliding, he was getting out of bounds. It's like, don't be scared to just go get some free yards, keep the drive alive, get that defense tired. That was like my biggest critique probably, is that he had a few opportunities where it's like, you can make this 3rd and 2 instead of 3rd and 7 easily. Just step up, take a few steps, slide, take the 3rd and 2, do something with it.
I mean, a lot of times in those, it was design play. Like, it was design plays to go out to the boundary on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, so I mean, I don't really have a complaint about his running. If there's 2 things that worry me off that game. One is the tip passes. I wonder if the tip, because Caleb,
that was crazy.
His height is fine. Like, his height, he's a little over 6 foot.
He kind of releases it like below his ear almost.
Yeah. He plays,
which I've never noticed.
He plays a little more slouched and with a lower release, and that was creating some issues. As was the O line, allowing that interior pressure to get into his face.
What was there, like passes. 6 tips?
It
felt like every time he was throwing. It was like
I mean, the Keenan Allen touchdown drop, that was a tip pass. You couldn't tell until you went back and reviewed it. But, like, that ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage. So that's one thing that worries me. And I wonder if that impacted his accuracy, because he was trying to get a higher release point and that started getting in his head at all.
Yeah.
And the second thing that worries me is Matt Eberflus's new philosophy on offense of end every drive with a kick. Whether that be a field goal, whether that be a point after, or whether that be a punt. No turnovers. And I do not like that. I mean, I'm just a guy.
The idea behind
I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm not going to sit here and try to say I know quarterback development. But to me, I would think that telling your rookie quarterback to go out there and sling it is the way for him to grow. Not telling him,
especially with the
scared
of
throwing the football away, because that I just don't like that mentality. I want the aggressive mentality with my young quarterback. So I hope that's something we see in this game, getting back to Bears Texans, because if Caleb Williams can't be a star in this game, the Bears aren't going to win it. They're not in it, because you're not going to get.
Joe Mixon looked good for him too.
Yeah, CJ Stroud is not going to give you the football like Will Levis did. He's just not. He's too good. If you cover well and get a decent pass rush, he will just tear you up in the underneath and win with 1,000 paper cuts. And I haven't seen Caleb do it yet. Maybe this is the game where Caleb breaks out. I do think there are things in the Texans secondary that you can target and you can take advantage of, but until he does it, kind of like we were saying with Cincy, until he does it, it's hard to bet on it. So to me, I'm staying away from this game. I'll probably even bet Texans -6.5 or 7 or wherever it is as an emotional hedge. But like, I just don't see value in betting the Bears for this game.
Yeah. And I mean, my biggest thing is if I'm a Bears fan, I don't care if I win or lose this game. I just want to see something from Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as long as we get that, I think we'll be all right there.
As long as he improves, truly, like, I don't even need to see star moments. I just need to see growth. Yeah. As long as he grows in each game to a degree or in some way, that might not even be statistically, but in the tape you can find it, like, then I'm good with it. Because one of the things with Justin Fields was you saw some of the growth kind of stall kind of early, and it never kept going in certain areas of his game. that's what you hope you're avoiding with Caleb, right? You want to see that growth continue in multiple different realms of his game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not betting it. Then moving on to our Monday Night Football game, we have the Falcons versus the Eagles going to Philadelphia. Philly is 6.5-point favorites, total of 47.5. Kirk Cousins looks terrible. He doesn't look healthy. He's not planning. He is underthrowing guys. He is missing guys left and right. He was having some struggle. I mean, the Steelers did a good job of collapsing the pocket on him and stuff, which I think the Eagles might be able to do as well. I don't know. But if Kirk Cousins isn't healthy, this could sink fast for the Falcons. I was really high on him coming into the season. Luckily, they drafted a quarterback in the top 10. Maybe that's why. We just saw Kirk Cousins for the first time since his Achilles. Maybe they were seeing some stuff in practice, being like, maybe he's
how much did we pay this guy? Like that type of stuff. Like, wait. We did what without seeing him in person? Like,
yeah, because he had some open pockets where like he was not stepping into throws. He was just flat out missing guys. Didn't look good at all. So
now I do think Cousins will get back to his normal form.
I think he will too.
But I just don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah, and could very easily start 0-2 right here.
Yeah.
But I'm not betting. This is another one I'm not betting. It's one of those where he was in a nightmare scenario against a great defense. TJ Watt was absolutely wrecking havoc. TJ Watt might be the best defensive player in the league. I don't think the Eagles have that type of caliber player on the defense. I think their defense is more than okay, but they got some rookie corners, rookie DBs there. And if they're not getting the pass rush that Pittsburgh was getting with those weapons the Falcons have, I think the Falcons can absolutely feast on this defense. But I have to see Kirk Cousins make some throws before I feel comfortable on anything. So I'm not betting this game. If I were, I would probably lean Falcons just because I think their offensive talent can absolutely feast on this Eagles secondary. But at the same time, I think the Falcons defense is more than capable of not letting the Eagles just run all over them either. So I lean Falcons, but I can't in good conscience take it.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
Vic Fangio is Kirk Cousins' daddy. I'm not betting this game for a lot of the reasons you just said. I don't know what we're getting from the Falcons until we see Kirk. Like this is a mystery box game to me. I truly don't know what I'm expecting from either of these football teams, especially like the Eagles. They have defensive talent, but Vic's scheme is going to take some time to get underway, to get feeling good and comfortable in. And there's a lot of youth out there to do it. So it might even take a little more time than it has previously. Now, Atlanta, ton of changes. Kirk Cousins is a big mystery himself. And back to the Eagles, Jalen Hurts looked like dog shit, flat out. Jalen Hurts looked like shit. So to me, I'm staying away from this game. I do think Vic Fangio knows what buttons to push to make Kirk uncomfortable, and he's very good at it. So like I do have a lean towards the Eagles here, but ultimately I'm staying away.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you there. Yeah, my biggest thing is Saquon. If Saquon's as good as he played week one, Eagles are going to be an issue. But, outside of Saquon being Saquon in that game, not a whole lot impressed me about Philly's offense.
Brown.
Do what?
AJ Brown went ham on Jair Alexander a few times.
AJ Brown's good.
Yeah.
We've known
that's what I'm
AJ
saying.
Brown is good.
Saquon and AJ Brown were the two impressive parts. And
I
throw Devonta Smith in there too.
I was
quarterback
speaking
dependent.
Yeah, I was speaking basically just like we expect A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith to be good in this Eagles offense. We've seen that. Okay. We haven't really seen a running back be able to take over a game in Philadelphia since Brown and Westbrook years. Like, Swift did all right for him, but then they just completely stopped using him last year, and the whole team just kind of imploded. So
Put some respect on Boston Scott's name.
only when they're playing the Giants. But yeah, so yeah, I'm staying away from that one. But you want to get into some college, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. You want to start off with your college picks?
Yeah, I'll go through mine real quick, and then we can do the same thing we did last week, where you'll tell me what you have, and I'll tell you if I like it or not.
Yeah.
So starting out, I have Arizona plus 7.5 going to Kansas State. I believe that's in Kansas State. I'll have to double check. We're assuming that's in Kansas State. Kansas State hasn't looked good this season. Arizona looked really good. I like their quarterback, Fafita, with the wide receiver they have, whose name I can't remember. I think they got a good combo there. It doesn't look like they've lost much with Jed York leaving, going to Washington. They look like a competent team, and plus 7.5 against an unknown Kansas State team that's supposed to be better than they've looked. I'll take Arizona in that spot. Next up, I have Bama minus 15.5. Wisconsin does not look good under with Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback. They'll have to figure something out there. I think Wisconsin is building something under that new coaching staff and everything, but Tyler Van Dyke is just not it. Bama kind of had a close game. There was a 7-point game versus I think it was South Florida last week in the fourth quarter, and ended up kind of running away from it at the end. But I like Bama minus 15.5. Next up, I have South Carolina, who is supposed to be a pretty good team this season. Looked terrible week 1, but they're catching 7 points at home versus LSU. I don't love this LSU team at all. Nussmeier looked great week 1 versus LSU. They did not look so hot last week versus McNeese State. No, McNeese was A&M. I can't remember who they played. FCS team, I'm almost positive, but didn't look great. I'll take South Carolina at home. It's hard to win on the road in the SEC, and I don't have a lot of faith in that LSU team. Next up, Oregon State plus 16.5 versus Oregon. I don't know much about this Oregon State team, but Oregon has tried their best to lose the first 2 weeks. This is probably their biggest historic rival, if not Washington. But this is Oregon State's biggest rival. They're at home. Oregon just left them to go to the Big Ten. That whole stadium is going to be rocking. And I really expect Oregon State to come out hot and really, really fight to win this game. This is their national championship. I think Oregon was 5 last week. They got dropped down to 9. But you still have a top 10 team that you absolutely hate coming into your stadium, catching 16.5 points. Give me the points there. And then last but not least, I'll take Nico Iamaleava at home, hosting Kent State. Might be the worst team in college football. I'll take Tennessee and Nico over 55.5 points. I think they get every bit of 48 by halftime, and then get a garbage time touchdown late. Yeah, give me Tennessee team total over 55 in that game. I think they'll put up 70.
All right. Looking at mine, and for any new listeners, new viewers, I don't know college. I can't sit here and tell you why I'm picking my college football picks, because I spend, I listen to 3 different college football pick podcasts, and I'm just writing down notes as I hear something that triggers me, and then I throw them together, and I can't remember exactly what I heard that made me think it. I don't know it as well as Jay. So I'm just telling Jay my picks, and he's giving the good old thumb up or thumb down on it. And you can be the judge from there. But so starting off, backyard brawl, West Virginia, going to Pittsburgh. I got West Virginia minus 2.5.
Pittsburgh just blew it versus Syracuse. I'll take oh man. I don't know. I'll give you the thumbs up just because I don't think Pittsburgh's good.
All right. Next one. Boston College, the Boston College, going to Mizzou. Mizzou's a good team. Boston College plus 16.5.
Yeah. People like to talk about Bill O'Brien as being a bad coach. Bill O'Brien is a great coach. He was a terrible GM. And I like what he's building there in Boston College. I think they're building a bully. Missouri coming into the season with high hopes after going 9-2 last year. I think Boston College can absolutely keep this close. They play good physical style football. The only thing that worries me about this game is if Missouri has a lot of offensive talent and it can get away from them quick. But I think Boston College can come out early on, slow down that tempo, slow down the team, slow down everything, really, really muddy the waters, and go in there and lose by 8 or 9 pretty easily. So I like that one.
Okay. Next one, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, going to Kansas against the Jayhawks. Give me UNLV plus 7.5.
Kansas didn't look good last week. I'll give you the thumbs up on that. I don't love UNLV, but yeah.
All right, next one. If you haven't caught on yet, this is clearly a Texas State podcast because we got Arizona State going to Texas State, and I'm taking Texas State money line.
Texas State looked so damn good last week. I actually kind of like Arizona State. They look good against Mississippi State. They look good week 1, but
They're not even plus money on the money line. They're minus 102. Like,
yeah,
it's not even great value.
Yeah, but I mean, what they did to UTSA was, I mean, there should be police, like, they should file charges against the kids from San Marcos because those kids from San Antonio just got absolutely assaulted on that football field. Yeah, I would have a lot of difficulty betting against that Texas State team right now.
All right. Next one. Was it the Apple Bowl? Washington State versus Washington? Apple Bowl, right? Or Apple something?
I thought the Apple Cup was
Apple Cup.
Mississippi State, Ole Miss.
No, that's the Egg Bowl.
Egg Bowl. Yeah, I think you're right.
All right.
Washington
Apple
State,
Bowl.
Washington.
Washington State at Washington. I got Washington minus 4.5.
I like it. Washington State's terrible.
Yeah, they did not look good against Texas Tech last week, despite
they
destroying them. Somehow they didn't look good while destroying them.
That's hard to do.
Yeah. UCF at TCU. Give me the UCF money line at just minus 110 odds. It was just flat, but
yeah, I'm not big on this TCU team. I think UCF better coached, even though I really like Sonny Dykes. I'll take UCF in that one.
All right. Next one. Got Memphis going to our favorite school that we can't help but support on this podcast, Florida State. Give me Memphis plus 6.5. Don't like the number, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked a Florida State fan a month ago about their first 3 games, they would all told you they're most worried about Memphis. And now they're sitting at 0-2, 2 weeks into the season. I think this game, if they would have won one of their 2 games, this would probably be a double-digit spread. But I still kind of like Memphis too. I say bet against Florida State until they prove you otherwise.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head's at. And then last one, we already know you like this one, but Bama at Wisconsin. Bama minus 15.5. This was a late ad. I asked you before we jumped on the podcast, what do you think of Bama, Wisconsin? And you said you were taking it. So I was like, okay, I'm taking it too then. Because I wanted to, but I couldn't find good info on it to like really back it up. But if you're on it, I'm on it. So
this is a hard week for college football.
It's a hard week, but I somehow have 8 bets.
Yeah, well, I'll probably make some ads. I like what you did. I liked your West Virginia play. I didn't like it when I first heard it, but I just don't know if this Pittsburgh team is very good at all, especially. Wait, I can't remember who won Pittsburgh Syracuse. Whoever lost, I don't like.
Syracuse was up, and then Pitt was up. Like Syracuse was up by multiple scores, and then Pittsburgh came back.
I think Pitt ended up winning then.
Because I almost bet Pitt last week against them, and then I wiped it off my board. So of course I noticed when I saw them come back. Yeah.
Syracuse Georgia Tech was last week.
Or wait, who was Cincinnati? It was Cincinnati. Pitt, Cincinnati.
The Big 12. Yeah. Wait, too.
Because I remember thinking.
Pitt ended up winning.
Okay.
I was thinking Pitt played Syracuse last week, so I'm completely confused. Georgia Tech played Syracuse. Syracuse was down by like 20, and they came back and beat Georgia Tech is what it was. Because I was like, I really thought I liked Syracuse in that game, but I was like, I just got my games wrong. Yeah, I don't like Pitt.
So
terrible.
Cincinnati was up 17-6 at half, and then Pitt came back.
Well, Cincinnati's not good.
No, they're not. But like I almost bet Pitt last week because I was literally like, Cincinnati's not good. I don't know if Pitt's good, but Cincinnati's not.
No, just threw me off because I thought it was Syracuse and Pitt, and then they both had similar games. But I was like, I thought Syracuse won, and I was like, but I thought Pitt won. So I just confused myself. Yeah. Syracuse is a team to watch too. I mean, they have McCord from last year, who was Ohio State's quarterback. He is slinging that rock for Syracuse, looking pretty good.
Always.
So they might be a fun team to bet on moving forward. But that'll be it for this week. We will do. Are we doing another short episode?
Yeah, we'll do a quick bets.
Cool.
Quick picks.
That'll be it for this week. Whatever you do, do not sleep on them Cardinals. 1-0 on the season against the spread, and it's only getting better from here. Thank y'all so much, and we'll see y'all next week.
Amen.
That's how we've won all year, team, right? Hey, you held them to 20 points, man.
Yes,
you
sir.
gave us a chance at the end. I got 3 words for you. You like that?